this slash command will change how you use coding agents. If you've ever used a coding agent and you felt like it stopped working and it didn't complete what you wanted it to, then this slash command can help you. I'm Joe, I'm an AI engineer, and in this video, I'm going to cover the goal slash command for Codex. So what we're going to cover in this video is, what does the goal slash command do? What need does it fulfill? I'm going to try out some use cases for a project that I'm actually working on. It's a legit project. And then we're going to assess the results of using the goal slash command in a real world use case. And then finally, I'm going to rate the tool after testing it out. So first things first, let's get into what the goal slash command actually does. The goal slash command is for when a task needs Codex to keep working across turns. So it basically keeps the agent going until it reaches the goal that you specified. And so it's good for long running coding work and things like that. Now, this can have a really big impact, even though it's really simple, because oftentimes I've found that agents will just kind of stop, even though the work is not completed. I usually use beads to complete my work, and the agents that I use and set off on the beads will oftentimes stop working, even though the beads are still there. And so when I was first starting out with that, I'd have to babysit them and go, hey, keep working. There's still work to be done. Well, this slash command can get rid of that need. So that's a big deal. Now, a lot of people have come up with methods to get around the laziness of agents. They've come up with hooks for when an agent becomes idle, there will be a hook and then it'll wake the agent up again. What I did was, because I manage agent swarms, I would have the agents wake each other up, and I developed a tool for that. But with this goal slash command, you might not need any of those things, because if the goal is not accomplished, it's going to keep going. And so that's why I think it's going to be a really big deal. I mean, this goal slash command is experimental right now, right? You need to enable it from the experimental slash command and configure it. But I think it's going to become a lot more mainstream because of how useful it is. So now let's get into what needs the slash command fulfilled. And for this, I found a project that I'm working on that's actually great for it. And the project I'm working on is kind of researchy. And so I need to be able to iterate quickly, because I don't know exactly the solution that I'm trying to create. My normal agentic workflow requires making a plan, turning that into beads, and et cetera, et cetera. And that requires figuring out what you want in the plan phase. But the thing that's different about this project, and about projects that I think could really benefit from the slash command, is I need to try something out, iterate on it, and then try it out and try out something different, test it out, and keep going back and forth. So that can be a little clunky if I use a plan document, create beads, have that on my VPS, push it to GitHub, and then pull it onto my computer to run it, or another VPS to run it. That can be very clunky, and the iteration cycle can be just too long. On the other side of the spectrum, you have little tweaks. If you had a static website and you wanted to change the font size here, well, then you could just prompt your agent and get it done. And so you don't need the slash command for that. Where the goal slash command can thrive is in the middle, where it's a big enough task that it's challenging for the agent and it needs to run for a long time to actually meet that goal. But it's not so huge and vast that you need a huge plan document and the beads and the normal workflow I run through to create a full-fledged software project. But how well does it work? Because let's be real, you didn't come here to have me talk about it. You came here to see how well it'll work. So as we can see here, I have Codex opened up in YOLO mode. So it has all the permissions, and it's in this folder of my project. So here's my project, and I think this is a really good project to test the goal slash command on. So the idea of this project is I'm actually trying to train an AI, and I needed to create a training environment for this AI to learn in through reinforcement learning. And it's an ambitious project. It's also non-generic. So it's something that I'm going to need to play around with. And that's the reason that I'm not using my traditional method of using a VPS, having beads on that VPS, just creating the beads from the plan document, having the agent swarm attack the beads and complete all of them, pushing it all to GitHub, and then pulling it onto my computer. Because the problem is the iteration cycle for that is very long. And because I'm not exactly sure how I want to create this, I need a version 1, and then I'm going to test it out and iterate it, and then I'm going to have a version 2. And so I need that feedback loop to be a lot quicker for this. At the same time, it's not so simple that I can just whip up Codex or Claude Code and it can just one-shot it. Like, it is a challenging problem. So that's why I'm using the goal / command to complete this project. So that's enough of me yapping. We're going to get right into it right now. And so here is the prompt that I have for it. So as you can see, I'm just saying read all of the plan and then follow that plan and make it a reality so it can train the model in brain.py. And so I just tell it to be very thorough. And then that last line, I know it sounds corny, but this actually really helps when you encourage the model through emotional prompting. So what I'm going to do is copy that. And then here I'm going to go /goal because I already enabled that in the config.toml. And then I'm going to paste in my prompt. So if this works properly, I can walk away and come back and it's going to do exactly what we want. And so that's the real test, right? If we can walk away, come back after hours, and it has accomplished the goal, then the goal / command does exactly what it said it would. So that's what we're going to do. So it actually did a great job at creating a beautiful repo that doesn't actually train the model correctly because I gave it the wrong instructions in the plan document. This is why I always emphasize that the plan document is by far the most important step, because if you mess that up, then everything downstream gets messed up. And it's really easy to edit the plan document, much harder to edit a repo. And so that was on me, not GPT 5.5. So what I'm going to do is paste in this prompt, and this prompt kind of sets it off on the right track. This is the correct way to train the model. I still have the emotional prompting step. I also have a few clarifications about what needs to be done, like, do that thoroughly and well, don't do it fast. Many test data interpretation refinements will have to be made. So this is really still a very hard problem, probably harder than the first one, even though it's simple. So I think it's an even better use case for the goal / command than before. And if you want to learn how to prompt like this, I have a video on prompting. Put that in the description below. If you want, you can pause the video and try to read this, but even I have trouble understanding it, and I wrote it. We're going to go, and then we're going to see. Place go. And so you can see how smart this model can be sometimes. The first run shows why this needs empirical tuning. All the cell data is being captured. So it's literally running tests on this experimental model and figuring out how it behaves. So that's why this is such a hard problem, is because it needs to basically run an experiment, see what happened, run another. So I'm basically getting it to do research for me, and it's writing code to run its experiment. So that's why this could take a long time, and this would be an absolute pain in the ass to do yourself. Like, this could take, I don't know, months to do yourself. This is a lot of work to just write a program, test it out, write another one, keep going back and refining. It finished, and the goal was achieved in 26 minutes. So as we can see, it got to online decoding accuracy of 45%, which is way higher than it said previously. It started out at like 10% and then went to 15%, and it tried a few different ways of decoding. It tried balanced random, sinusoidal, and localized bump. It actually did quite a good job. It ran several tests, although I would have liked to see a little bit more thoroughness from the goal, because it says that it's not solved, and there's definitely some room for more changes here. But I can see where it's coming from, where if it goes too far with the goal without any feedback from the user, it can sometimes go in the wrong direction. So overall, I'm pretty happy actually with how it handled the goal prompt, because it was a lot more thorough than if I had just typed it in without that goal / command. And I think it kept on track pretty well and did exactly what I wanted, didn't create a bunch of noise, and just made this program exactly kind of how it was supposed to be. Now, for things like creativity, I think I need to create another goal for this. And so I'm starting to realize from using this / command that the way to use it is to kind of line up a few goals. And that makes sense to me, because if I wanted like a huge project done just in one go, then I probably would just use my normal beads method. I gotta say, I really like it, but now I'm going to type in a new goal. So as you can see, I just set a simple prompt here, but I'm going to try something different. I'm going to set a hard metric here that I want it to reach, which is keep going until you reach accuracies above 90%. And I'm going to see how long it goes, because if goal / command works properly, then it should keep going. We're going to see. Okay, so it completed that goal and it only marked it complete after it got 94.8% accuracy. It completed that goal in 11 minutes. It's not as, I guess, impressive because it didn't work for very long, but this model is just so smart that it keeps solving the problems in just a matter of a few minutes. But it did accomplish the goal and it made it explicit that it was marking the goal complete because it was accomplished. And so I think that using those hard numbers and holding it to that is the right way to use this goal / command. Otherwise, it's a little fuzzy. But here's what I can do now. I'm going to really challenge it and go, so I'm saying now further optimize and try to get the accuracy above 98% after calibration. Run a bunch of tests, try out the new encoding decoding methods, run tests with more ticks if it helps, and do not stop until you reach 98% accuracy. So now we're going to really put it to the test. If it can go from 95% to 98%, actually, we're going to see 99% because I actually, based on these tests, have a lot more faith in Codex than I originally did. So it actually accomplished the goal again in 17 minutes this time. And it was very thorough and it got it to above 99% accuracy for 1,500 ticks, not just 1,000. So it actually went a little bit above and beyond what I asked for. So this is super impressive. You can see all the tests that it ran back here, all the tweaks that it made. Super duper impressed with the goal command. So it really does hold itself to whatever metric that you give it. That really is the way to use the goal command, is to give it a metric that you want to hold it to, and it will hold itself to that. Now I'm asking it to give me some visibility via graph. So going to say it should guess what is going. So it finished, and as you can see, it has a bunch of plots. So we have all of these plots that show different information about the accuracy and stuff. I'm not going to get too into them, the confusion matrix, but these are really solid plots that tell you a lot about what's going on here. So overall, I'm very pleased, and this goal only took 8 minutes to do. So now it's time to review the / command now that we've tried using it on a few things. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with how it performed. So some of the strengths that it has, and I think the first one is that it holds the agent to an objective standard. If you put it in your prompt that it needs to have 90% accuracy, then it will keep going until it reaches that 90%. Another thing is it makes the agent more thorough in general. I've noticed that it runs more tests. Even if you don't have an objective that you're holding it to, it'll still run more tests. And so just generally, if you want the agent to be more thorough, you can use this / command. Finally, it's really, really easy to use. Now, some of the caveats that I want to mention is that it does not replace the effectiveness of creating beads from a detailed plan document and setting off an agent swarm on that. It doesn't replace that. It's not going to, because it simply can't compete with the level of detail that's outlined in beads and the volume of work that can be done by an agent swarm. So for creating complex software where you already know what you want to build, the plan, beads, and swarm is a much better way to go than just using this goal / command. Another thing is that I've seen where people will give it an impossible goal just to see what happens. And at least right now, the goal / command will have the agent banging its head against the wall if the goal is too ambitious and it doesn't accomplish the goal. So you need to be really careful, right? Like if I gave it the goal that it needs to have 100% accuracy and that's not really a feasible goal, then it would have kept running for hours or maybe even days. One tip that I found while using this / command is it works really, really well when you give the agent a number to reach, if you can. If what you're doing has some sort of objective standard, then try to hold the agent to that objective standard, and Goal will do a great job of that. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you're interested to learn how I normally build software, which is creating a detailed plan document, creating the beads, and setting a swarm of agents off on those beads, refining, iterating, I have a course that I'm working on that I'm going to link in the description below. Feel free to check it out if that's something you want to learn. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will try to answer. Happy coding.